Welcome to Destination Marriage, a podcast about successfully navigating the winding roads of marriage. Whether you are looking to get married, you are engaged, newly married, or have been married for years, we want to share with you how we have successfully navigated those winding roads over the past 18 plus years.
Join us on this journey as we discuss real life experiences, both highs and lows, and what we have learned along the way. Happiness, grace, passion are some of the things we all strive for in marriage, and we invite you to take this journey with us. Welcome to Destination Marriage.
Welcome to the first episode of Destination Marriage. I'm Jackie.
And I'm Tommy.
And we are thrilled to have you here today with our first episode. We've been married for 18 years. We have two wonderful sons, and our story started in high school.
Which means we dated, broke up, got back together, broke up again, dated again, broke up, and then found each other again in our early 20s, and we've been going strong since. So here we are with our first episode, and we thought since we're in this unique time together that we would, instead of some of the topics we had teed up, we would shift our focus and talk about the impact of COVID-19 on intimacy and relationships.
Yeah, I think it's obviously, like Tommy had mentioned, we definitely had some other things teed up, but things have shifted, and I know you're all probably listening to this from your home because we're all quarantined and practicing social distancing. For some of this could be a great time to reconnect and enjoy the company of your significant other, but let's face it, quarantine life does pose a challenge for many relationships.
Yes, it does.
Being around each other 24/7 isn't really for everyone, and the other worries that naturally come with the unknowns that are circling COVID-19 can trigger frustrations and that then turn into arguments.
Yeah, and so, we thought we would talk about first some of the tips for better intimacy with your spouse.
Yeah.
We'll talk later about kind of what we're doing specifically, and certainly there's a lot of other relationships you have to be considered, and cared for. But we thought we'd really start with that spouse relationship because it's so important for maintaining a healthy home. So the first thing we talk about is just really having fun together. Now is a great time to do something at home that maybe you wouldn't normally do because of time constraints. For us, we've been using this time to be creative, and which has kind of turned into a lot of home projects, some individual projects and some together projects. But we're having a lot of fun by doing things that are productive for the house, but also fun for us, and build relationships and build intimacy.
Yeah, because some things, obviously, like Tommy had mentioned, having the time constraints of just normal everyday life,
right.
We wouldn't typically, maybe pour as much time and effort into some of the projects we're working on right now. And so I think that's been really great to be creative. A mental health check-in has been important. I know we probably all have heard and kind of seen this in different forms, over the last few weeks, as far as, what people are experiencing. But, how can we keep anxiety at bay or under control? And I'm curious, I think I'm probably the one who probably suffers from more anxiety. So I want to ask you, how do you keep anxiety at bay? Like, how are you able to do it? Because I don't really see you, suffering from anxiety with all of this.
Yeah, I think that, it's important. We're all different as far as that's concerned, certainly. But with this disruption of our normal routines, that can throw a lot of people off. So I think you mentioned a mental health check-in, both for yourself, right? Kind of take a lot of where your head's at, but also be very mindful of those around you and where they're at mentally. Because, we're already seeing statistics on rises in divorces and a lot of mental health concerns, which we don't downplay whatsoever. But I think for me, I am kind of a routine guy, but getting into a new routine and accepting that has to happen is one of the things that helps me stay sane. And so for us, one of the things is, we'll talk about it with the keep moving, but, we kind of started focusing a little bit more on yoga. We have a little more time, so we're spending that time together with yoga, and that helps to clear your mind. For me, projects around the house helps me stay sane as well. It's just how I work. So I think each of us has to find something, but I think first it starts with recognizing that you have to check yourself from a mental health standpoint. It's really important, and check those around you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would say if I had to ask myself though, like mental health check-in, how are you doing today, Jackie? It'd probably be like teetering at all times.
Not good. Right.
Between I'm getting through it and then I'm at the edge of a cliff.
Right.
Because some of the things that were routine for me were not at home. They were, maybe going to the gym. I mean, obviously that it was part of my routine, like 5 days a week, both of ours.
Mm-hmm.
It is difficult. I'm not really a huge lover of working outside. That's working out outside. It's different. But yeah, I probably suffer from anxiety a little bit more than you, and I'm sure that varies from person to person. But
yeah, recognition is that it is an issue is first.
Yeah.
Because if you don't recognize you're sinking,
mm-hmm.
then once you do recognize it, you're at the bottom of that well,
mm-hmm.
emotionally, and so being as proactive as you can, I think, is really important.
That sounds really dark.
Well, I mean, there's unfortunately a lot of people are in dark places. I mean, this is a really
I'm not at the bottom of a well.
You know what I mean.
Clear.
You know what I mean. So yeah, I agree. I think that mental health check-in, and for those around you, for your kids, they may kids, they always say, oh, kids are so resilient. Well,
yeah,
that's not necessarily accurate, because a lot of that stuff can manifest itself later.
Right.
The issues
true.
They have now.
And this is very different, and I think because even as parents, it's not as though we have already lived through as children a coronavirus or a quarantine, so we can't say, oh, well, this is what we did as kids, or we've already walked this path. We are literally all going through this together, including if you have children, your children. So kind of thinking creatively of ways of how you can also keep their spirits up, and also do a mental health check-in. You're not going to ask them like, hey, how's your anxiety today?
Right.
But just making sure there's different things, I'm sure, signs that you would look for in your child. You'll know your child best. But, I just think that it's something that it will definitely, it'll change for each person and probably every single day,
mm-hmm.
As we continue further along in this process. But, yeah, for me, I do that mental health check-in, and anxiety is usually, it's typically up there.
It's on the higher end right now.
I've been coloring a lot lately.
Coloring. Well, there you go. There's a tip. I
mean,
who would have thought adult coloring books would be so soothing for you mentally? But if that does it for you,
I'm obsessed with that. I love
and
it now.
I just finished that puzzle. Me and Dylan, our youngest son.
We're
just
basically
finished
a retirement home.
Hey, but no, it's important, certainly. And right up there with mental health is actually your physical health too, right? And I've been amazed. I've been sort of tasked in our home of doing the early morning grocery store run, because that's when the toilet paper stocked.
Right.
But it's amazing the processed crap food that's flying off the shelves.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Where all of the fresh vegetables and fruits are well stocked.
Right.
And the other comfort type foods that, let's face it, ultimately are just making you sicker and physically unwell. So I think
sodas are flying off the
oh my
shelves.
gosh, it's crazy, the stuff that
all of the processed things. And
I get it. You've got your kids are at home more than they're normally being at home, so easier foods. And we're not going to say we're some organic, sugar-free home,
but should your entire grocery cart be filled with unhealthy foods? I mean, I think that's probably going to make you feel worse.
So I mean, I think it's actually. You talk about a mental health check-in, you've got your physical health check-in too. And I've actually been using, when I'm observing that happening, as like a check-in on our home is, wow, what are we putting into our bodies right now, right? It's much easier to just boil some pasta and put some sauce on it, which by the way is like barely available in the stores.
Yeah, there's really.
I understand that, but man, if all you're eating is these simple carbs, you didn't
seem to mind that when I made that banana bread though a couple of weeks ago.
That was pretty fantastic, but you know what I mean. Like the point is, but I think it's just like your mental health. It's really easy to not realize how much crap you're putting into your body and the impact that's having. And with all the stress and stress eating and the ease of processed foods, like that just ends up doubling down, because now physically you're feeling worse than you would have otherwise as well. And that goes into, not just fueling your body with healthy foods, but, be creative around exercising. My gosh, on Instagram and online, there's so many people that are posting at-home workouts.
There's a lot of good tools now.
Yeah, there's all this free stuff. Just, you've got to be disciplined to go do it.
That's
right?
True.
I think whether it's mental health check-in, your food intake, or your exercise, you got to have to reorient your disciplines. And you got to first believe that it's good for you.
Yeah.
And then you just got to do it,
Absolutely.
So what about intimacy between partners? What's some good tips?
Well, I think one of the things that we've been trying to do is like have little date nights. Like we made Kuiperinis last weekend. And so I randomly just had, I don't know, and not even a craving, but I was like, you know what? I don't think I've ever had like a dirty martini with stuffed blue cheese olives. And I thought, why don't we try to make them? So you went to the store and got all the things, and it didn't necessarily turn out like I had imagined as far as like the flavor. It just wasn't for me. So we switched, but it still was fun. We did it together and we made Kuiperini. So now every weekend we're going to make our own version of a Kuiperini.
And then we send silly videos to our friends.
Yeah, we send silly videos to our friends and pictures of our drink.
And they'll ask, how long have you been drinking?
Right. It doesn't take much these days because we're really not drinking that often, but we're indulging in a cocktail over the weekend, or 2 or 3, maybe 4.
But it's if you think about if this didn't exist, right? In a normal week, if you did have a date night planned for Friday night, you would be intentional and you would get dressed up. You would maybe get a babysitter.
Yeah, I missed
and
that
then you
part
would go
of getting
out.
dressed up.
But why not be intentional about, even if you're not actually going anywhere, be intentional and do all the things you would have done otherwise, except you're just not leaving the house.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree.
Just you don't just go right from the sweatpants and t-shirt into date night, right? I mean,
go into another pair of sweatpants.
There you go. I think each of us is different, but if that makes you feel good about yourself and you feel better and you feel more put together and it makes for a better time and more intimate time together, then
I think it's a great idea. I really do. I think it's a really good idea just to unwind, enjoy each other, just do something that has nothing to do with coronavirus, COVID-19,
right.
Scrubbing your countertops. Just take a break from all of that, unwind, and just try to separate yourself from the situation, have a little bit of fun, get some takeout and pour yourself a cocktail and relax. Because honestly, I think at this point, as I know that we both do a lot of cooking, it's nice to have a night where maybe we don't cook at all and we can order from one of our favorite spots and pick it up and still be safe. But having a date night at home, and that's obviously going to help with reconnecting on more of an intimate level.
Absolutely. What else, babe? What are some other good ideas?
I think being creative. I know we kind of touched on doing some home projects, but there's other ways to be creative together. I mean, obviously you're not into coloring, but cooking something unique and delicious that we've never made before, like just trying something. I think cooking together is kind of an intimate thing. Just little things that you wouldn't normally have the extra time for. And we've done some little things here or there, like, painting. I tried to do the puzzle with you, but no offense. Like, the puzzle thing is just not my jam. I'm not good at puzzles.
It's a way for me to just zone out and just...
I see all the pieces and I'm just like, I throw my hands up. It's just too much.
But you've been cooking creative things that you maybe normally wouldn't have time for.
Yeah.
Right? And you've been doing it with our sons. Our older son has come
Baking
over.
Baking and cooking different things, which it's fun to do. And then for us, I think, we've had some more time to maybe sit down and just think creatively around things that we want to do. Not necessarily that we're able to do right now, but, creative things that we want to do over the next year. And, whether it's in the home or, different things that we want to put together, different things that we want to do once we're able to leave this house, so, what do you think about, how we can really just maintain relationships with friends or external?
Yeah, I think that's certainly
like extended family. Like, how can we maintain?
It's such an interesting time because maybe you have parents that are older, or if they do have parents that are close by physically, but you normally are in and out of their homes, or they're in and out of your homes, and now it's like you're separated. Or your kids don't have access to their friends anymore, even though they're right down the street, or all those kind of things. I think it's the beauty, and this certainly isn't. We're not the first ones to suggest this, but you use the technology to your advantage. They've got all these Zoom calls. and Google Hangouts, FaceTime. Use that to your advantage. We did it with our son's birthday. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to have a party, but we got everybody together on a Zoom call. We all sang happy birthday to him. He opened his presents that they had sent, and they were able to watch it, and he was able to say thank you to them, and I think, and we filmed it all, so he'll have that forever.
Yeah.
And
it was kind of a big birthday for him, so I'm not. I mean, I was bummed.
13th birthday.
13
he's a
is a really big
now.
deal, and
Yeah.
I promised him next year I'll throw a blowout birthday party. But a lot of people have had to do that very same thing. They have these quarantine birthdays, and I mean, at least we're together. But you have to be creative around it right now. I mean, that's the only thing you can do.
Another tip: if you're not experts, even if you are an expert at Zoom calls or something, and you're sending the invite to your parents who maybe have never used it, make sure everybody gets it up and running before the event starts. That's true. There's nothing worse than, from a work standpoint, trying to say, is it working now? And the camera's pointing up to the ceiling, or although it's kind of funny.
It is entertaining.
It is entertaining, but it can also be quite annoying. But I think along the lines of utilizing technology, what's really important about that is checking in with your extended family, right?
Yeah.
So,
especially if you have elderly parents or grandparents, or even friends that maybe they're alone, maybe they're not married, they don't have kids, they don't have a roommate, they're not with their family. Checking with everyone and just letting them know, hey, somebody cares about your well-being is important. COVID-19 is impacting everyone in some form or fashion.
Sure it is.
And so I think it's important just to send a quick message to a friend, give them a call, send them a quick video. I mean, I know that we've sent silly ones to friends and, checked in with other family members as well, just to say, hey, we're thinking about you, and, we care. We want to know how you guys are doing. Also making sure everyone's healthy, especially if you have, parents that, maybe have had other health issues, checking with them, being a help, as well, helping other people. I think right now is a really great thing to do, whether it's, friends or family members. That's part of maintaining those relationships, is making sure that they're healthy and safe as well, because they may have some other challenges that are up against them right now.
So if you're, if you have extended family or friends that are, kind of far away, what do you think about putting a little kind of a gift box together, or like a care box or something together for them?
I like that idea.
Have your kids kind of get involved and pick out some fun things. Doesn't have to be crazy expensive, but just things to make that connection. When you can't be there physically.
Right.
This whole time has kind of really highlighted to me like the truth in the fact that we are built for relationships.
Right. We're not meant to be isolated and be alone.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not single versus married, just alone in general.
In general, yeah. And we need the friendships. We need those relationships. Just think about, even if you are single and you're working in an office, you feed off that energy.
Sure.
You absolutely do.
I think, when you talk about that meant, we talked about mental health check-in, and we talk about, checking in with those you love, but make sure you're checking in with your kids who are right down the hall.
Yeah.
You don't know how this is impacting them.
Right. I mean,
and they may not realize how it's impacting them.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So it's crucial to not get lost in your own head and your own worries and your own anxiety, but really just kind of focus on those around you too.
Yeah. I mean, we've been doing little things to try to, like, little creative things. We're actually going to make homemade popsicles. Dylan and I are going to make homemade popsicles because tomorrow's actually going to be a glorious day of 85 degrees. We're not doing any home chores.
No.
We're not using that time to clean anything. We're going to be outside in the sunshine, because that's another thing that I guarantee you that anyone right now who is feeling a certain way, if there's a warm, sunny day, just being outside is going to help your mental health. Yeah. So we're going to make those popsicles, and that will be our...
Go wherever you're allowed to go legally.
Go for a walk with your dog. I mean, whatever you can do. But we're going to be making those popsicles. These are the little things that Dylan and I have to look forward to.
We've gotten kind of lucky in a way, because our youngest son, who's in middle school, is pretty self-sufficient with his schoolwork, and he's on pretty disciplined with that. Certainly, I understand that's stressful for a lot of parents right now. You're working and you're all of a sudden a stay-at-home teacher. Yeah. So we recognize that's a challenge, but
absolutely.
I
those
think,
are 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And essentially you've got 3 full-time jobs, because you're cooking and you're cleaning and now you're the school teacher and you're also working to provide for your household. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy. So those are just some of the things we kind of talked about
Yeah.
With respect to, those outside relationships, how important it is to make sure that you're intentionally taking the time
Right.
to focus on others as well.
One of the things I thought about doing, because we're hovering over Mother's Day, which is next weekend, and
Point taken.
I thought about making, instead of buying cards, I thought about making them for, your mom, my mother-in-law, and, sort of the boys to be a part of, like, making those cards for their grandparents, because
It's a bit of a surprise and just
yeah,
something
it's different. I think everyone would kind of appreciate something that's homemade that's sent to them right now instead of a card, because it's a little bit more creative. We have the time to be creative. And who doesn't like getting, just a nice pick me up in the mail? But especially, honestly, when I think about it, Mother's Day is like the day where you're able to put your feet up and relax and go, get dressed up and everyone takes you to brunch. That's not happening this year. Okay.
Right.
So homemade cards just might be my jam this year with getting those out and letting everyone know we appreciate them.
Yeah. So we've talked kind of bigger picture as far as some tips, and then we talk about extended family, but so for the rest of the episode, let's talk about like some specific things we're doing. What are for when we talk about, because we can obviously speak to our relationship and the impact of coronavirus on our intimacy, and I think that the first thing that just stands out to me that's really crucial is how important it is to show grace to one another right now. I've even like caught myself and just like getting angry for no reason.
Yeah.
And vice versa. You'll snap at me about something.
I don't do that.
Never. If you're perfect. But I think it's always important to show grace to your kids, your wife, your husband. But let's be honest, like, you have to think about it right now.
Yeah, it's pretty amped up. I mean, we're around each other a lot, but I mean, we're really around each other every second.
Right. And so, what I would encourage everyone to do is, instead of immediately responding back, is think, okay, that response was triggered by something that's probably abnormal not the COVID response. But I think, no, it's important. I think
that's a real thing.
Overall, kind of as like an overarching theme to having better intimacy right now, I think is really being intentional about showing extra grace to one another.
Yeah.
And recognize that everyone's anxiety is amped up and ramped up right now. And that tomorrow you'll forget about that comment. So maybe. Why get mad about it? Well, you wouldn't, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So
definitely. The other thing I would say is, as far as our current practices for staying positive, using this time wisely. It can really be a gift or your worst enemy. We have the power to choose how we use our time.
Agreed.
I mean, we don't have a lot of control over pretty much, maybe 75% of the things that are happening right now. But really, the time that you have at home, using this time wisely, we're doing our best individually and as a couple to focus on what we can control versus ultimately what we can't.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the first step, kind of having your mindset, in the right direction, where you want to head.
Yeah, I know personally I've been trying to, orient my thinking towards that. It's like, okay, look, this is probably a once in a lifetime opportunity to use time to my advantage, because, we don't have those obligations of normal life right now. I mean, there's certainly a ton of obligations, but I mean, there's more time. Everyone, if we're stuck at home, there's more time. So you could either do that by binging on Netflix or using it wisely, like you said. And I think that if you use it wisely, it'll help tremendously in staying positive and moving things forward instead of potentially sinking and,
Yeah.
So.
What about some of the things that I know that we've had to do, and this may not apply to everyone, but I would certainly encourage everyone to do this, is because the COVID-19 is obviously affecting a lot of people, especially because of the industry that I'm in. I'm seeing it constantly as far as employment and
Yeah.
how that's affecting. And that obviously is a domino effect with income. What would you recommend?
Yeah, I
What we're
think
doing around that?
it's really important here to take a step back and put pen to paper about the finances.
Mhm.
We'll talk about it in our next episode, but if you don't have an agreement and don't sit down and look at all where dollars and cents are going,
Mhm.
that unknown is it amplifies your stress. So if you have a plan and adjust it based on that, on what's happening in your particular financial situation, job situation, or
Yeah.
bill situation, I think it's absolutely crucial. And we did that right from the start.
Mhm.
Because we have a whole plan in place. We looked at, okay, here's how things are going to change over the next 4 or 5 months,
Right.
and that whether it's a good picture or a bad picture, at least it's a picture you're confident in, and
Yeah.
you can then kind of attack it
Mhm.
or plan accordingly. And if you don't, it's going to cause stress in relationships. I mean, financial issues are already one of the number one leading causes of divorces.
Mhm.
So now you've got more fear of unknown and more financial potential issues. If you're not on the same
Yeah.
page with your spouse, I think it's going to kill intimacy.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
I'd highly agree of getting that in order.
It can definitely change the mood, which then,
Indeed.
can change or affect the relationship negatively. So I agree. I would also say making plans for when this is all over. And, obviously we can't put an actual date on anything right now.
Yeah, it's really
but,
frustrating, right?
I have all sorts of plans already made in
Yes,
my
you
head.
do.
And I've also have several double dates set for us. So you just don't know about them yet. But I've been, chatting with a lot of our friends, and they're also ready or, scaling the walls, ready to leave the house. So we do have some double dates and potential, travel plans, just no date set.
Yeah, I think it's
something
it's
to
something to look
forward
forward
to.
to. Exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely something to look forward to. And
One of the things that we're also doing with relationships is we're setting up Zoom double dates.
yeah, that's
We've got a
right.
couple of those coming up with our friends,
We
couples
do.
that we would normally maybe have dinner with and just enjoy a night out.
Oh, side note, I just need to interject here. One of our friends, or another couple that we're friends with, and they're really cool, just great people, sent us a game.
Yeah, that we're gonna
and
play.
We're gonna play
on our Zoom call.
I know, I'm
with
excited
each
about it. I
other,
thought that was really creative.
with our cocktails in hand.
Yeah, it'll be a good time.
So they'll have their version. We'll have ours sitting in front of
Yeah.
us, and we'll just have fun playing it. So that's another cool thing, I think.
Yeah, that'll be fun. And it's different,
Yeah, it's different. Instead of just doing a regular old call, it's basically a Zoom double date.
Yeah.
So it's it's a little bit more fun, but yeah, I absolutely think that's really important, and not just with that, but like you said, planning for vacations, potential, and you don't have to commit to anything. A lot of times you can't commit. If we try to
Right
book
now we
flights
can't.
tomorrow,
Yeah.
we can't.
We still kind of, have fun mapping something out though, like where we want to go, where we want to stay, when we go there, what do we want to see. We can still put all of those things together, and then as soon as this is lifted, actually pull the trigger on,
Yeah, and I think
putting a date on that.
Obviously we don't know what that future looks like, but this
Yeah.
isn't going to last forever. These things have come and gone since forever.
Yeah.
And have those things in place. It'll give you something to look forward to, and it'll build your excitement, and it will take away some of the anxiety around sinking where this is at right now. And I think it brings you close together, because then you can plan these things together.
Yeah, I think that's something that we haven't done it on a date night, but it can also be like, hey, let's sit down, make our Kuiper tea, and let's plan out our TBD,
Yeah.
trip, and put everything together. Like literally all of the details, everything, look at all the resorts, the pictures, get excited together. I mean, that's something fun to do.
Yeah, kind of right along those lines, a little bit different is, be intentional about learning something new, right? If it's planning for a new vacation you wanted to go on that you've never been to, whether it's, some new location or some adventure you want to go on.
Yeah.
But while you have the time, learn something new. Like we've been talking about that. You sign up for Masterclass, and they've got all these cool things
Yeah,
you
I
can
love
learn.
Masterclass.
You can learn from experts on very specific topics. You can just sort through whatever you want to do, whether it's learn how to cook this or learn how to make that. For me, it's been like on the project side, it's like
Right.
you'll come to me with, hey, do you think you could do that? I'm like, yeah, I'll YouTube it. Like YouTube everything.
Gotta love YouTube.
But it's something new. It's build a skill set. I think it's it's really important.
I agree. And refreshing the space around you and removing clutter is something that you and I both enjoy doing.
Indeed.
This may not be for everyone, but it literally it does change the mood in our home.
Sure
We
does.
like to do it. We like to then sit back and kind of look at our finished product. One of the things that we did recently, declutter and reorganize, was the pantry. And we actually spent an entire day doing this, an entire Saturday, just reorganizing everything. And we still, open the pantry and we're like, oh my gosh, it looks so great. And I know it's just little things. I know it may sound silly to somebody else that doesn't take joy in doing that, but we both kind of love, decluttering. I don't like a lot of things around me where it makes it feel like I can't think. I feel like I can't function. And we've been doing a lot of stuff to refresh, different areas of the home right now. And, just working together as a team. These are little things that you can team up on.
Yeah, it's absolutely just crucial to do things together. Maybe it's not for everybody to declutter your house. Maybe you're already perfectly decluttered, but whatever it is, just
you'd be surprised though, over 18 years of marriage, how much stuff you accumulate.
Yeah, right.
A lot of stuff.
Another thing we talked about a little bit earlier when we talked about eating healthier, but I think keeping moving is just crucial. We've been really focused on that. Now we work out quite a bit and we do different things, but we've had to adapt like a lot of you have as well. And so it's, we've made our son move, get out, walk the dog, ride your bike.
Yeah.
You gotta move. And for us, it's, we've been running outside a lot more. We've been
yoga,
turning our garage into a little gym. Like you said, yoga. We turned a newly open bedroom into a little yoga studio, put some candles up there, and it's just, we've been doing yoga more than we have in the past.
Don't burn it down.
Like Britney Spears, right? But, build those endorphins. If you can't run, go walk. If you can't ride a bike, just figure something out. Like we said, there's so many free
there's a lot of really good tools I've noticed
workout
that
at home.
popped up.
Yeah, they're all over the place. So all you gotta do is search it. Use the technology to your advantage, and then actually get out and move. I think it's
even on Instagram now, like there's a ton of people that didn't initially give out. They may have had like shorter clips, but I think they're recognizing right now, especially giving something away for free and showing the value that they bring. Later on, those people will come back and return the favor and bring them the business. So they're doing longer videos on workouts, at home workouts. And there's someone, and I can't think of their name right now, that has decided they didn't initially train children, or they weren't a PE teacher, but
nice.
they're now offering online PE classes
that's
for
cool.
littles. I think that's great because I'm sure these moms could need. We have older kids, but like if you have littles and you're not in a place where they can, got to get the sillies out. So the other thing I would say, as far as current practices that we've been doing or incorporating, is fine tuning our skills. And, if you're in sales like us, we're both in sales. We don't sell the same product or solution, but we are both in sales. So it's a great time for us to take on online class. Like Tommy mentioned, I started with Masterclass a few weeks ago. There's a lot of different classes through Masterclass. You can actually take. Some of them are, very specific to cooking or design. But there are a few on there that were actually really beneficial to me with business practices that I can still apply to sales. And honestly, it doesn't matter if you're not in sales, regardless of the space that you're in. COVID-19 can change how we do business for quite some time. We don't know how long, and it's not going to be forever, but there will be a window of time where this is impacting everyone, and we need to be creative around, how can we keep things moving? We all need to provide for our families and put food on the table and keep our businesses going. Whether you have a small business or you're working for our large organization, we still need to think around, okay, how can we still make sure that business is still moving forward? So I think it's going to take a lot of creativity around that. And so for right now, I'm trying to read books and, take a master class. I know you've been reading a lot of really great books that I wanted to take a look at, that are, more targeted towards sales professionals. I know you've been listening to a lot of really great podcasts too.
Yeah, there's so many. It's just giving me the time to search for interesting topics. And kind of back to the theme of this episode, is it's also spawned a lot of conversations between you and I about our future and how do we create a buffer if something like this happens again, as far as finance is concerned. And how does that, and I think it's helped with our relationship and our intimacy. It all ties together into being closer together, not doing our own things. Everybody has their own things to do and needs our own time, but in talking about that intimacy, man, having goals and future goals and maybe new adventures, new businesses or new opportunities, and being creative around that and fine-tuning those skills, man, I think it's really helpful.
I agree.
And brings us closer together instead of focusing on all the negative and getting down or upset about bad situations and not being able to do the things you want to do. Well, be creative and be creative together.
I agree, because I think like earlier we said, being together all the time can put a lot of strain for some people.
Right.
But, this can also, I think, if you have, positive mindset and we're focused on, how can we best use this time in those conversations, we're both recognizing kind of, I recognize a lot of strengths, maybe other strengths that I wouldn't have seen in you just because we hadn't gone through the situation. We weren't having these conversations. The need wasn't there to have those conversations. This is a really good time for everyone to, or as couples, kind of recognize what you each bring to the table and in other ways, other things that you have in your toolbox, and that you can be creative together and praise each other for those things that you bring to the table, because, that makes you well balanced, to have someone else that, maybe they're kind of checking a box that you're not necessarily able to do. You don't bring that to the table. But like I mentioned with fine-tuning your skills, it's really allowed me, and I think it gives everyone a lot of time to really immerse ourselves in just kind of re-educating ourselves and learning new things. So that's what we've been doing to keep things moving in a positive direction. But we would love to hear from our listeners, on what you're up to. And I would encourage everyone, please send us your feedback, send us your thoughts, creative ideas on how you've been managing life during COVID-19. So you can send that to feedback@destinationmarriagepodcast.com. That's
right. And be sure to listen to our next episode, which is already available to download. In our next episode, we talk about our annual planning process and what we've been doing for a number of years now, and how that's evolved and what that looks like. It's particularly important right now because what we found is that when you have a plan that's already mapped out, it makes it a lot easier to adjust when you need to, when a crisis like this hits, right? And so we immediately went to our plan. Right. We looked at, okay, we need to change, we need to tweak this. But if we didn't have that in place, it would have been much harder. It would have been, flying from the seat of our pants with respect to how do we control as much as we can. So, we really hope you guys download the next episode. We've got 18 years of doing this process. We certainly are evolving, but it's hopefully it could be really helpful when you have to make changes, and certainly it's very applicable right now, unfortunately, for this
absolutely
for this, but we'll go into in-depth with that.
Thanks again, everyone, for giving us a listen today. Like Tommy mentioned, our annual planning is ready for download. We look forward to continuing this journey with you. Stay safe out there. Bye. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and if so, please continue to listen on Podbean, iTunes, or Spotify, and hit subscribe. Also, visit us at destinationmarriagepodcast.com. Follow us on Instagram at destination_marriage, and be sure to tune in to our next episode.